Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, the insane Daryl Wayne, pushing the knobs and twiddling the dials here on Late Night Health. We are spending some time with the author of an exciting book, Dog is My Doctor, Cat is My Nurse, Carlene Montes de Oca, and a former film editor, as she just said, I think, and she's now an acupuncturist and nutritional counselor. How does that relate to your love of animals, Carlene?
Well, it's funny. The other day I realized that when I began my whole health and wellness journey, I was 15 years old. It was my very first job in a health food store. So I've had this love of health and wellness from an early age, but I've had a love of animals from probably the day I was born. So I think at some point they were going to cross, with each other. I had thought of being a vet for some time and then decided against it for certain ethical reasons. And, I had always wanted to be a writer as well. So somehow all of these things ended up crossing together, and I'm glad they did in the book.
And, of course, Carlene will be editing the Daryl Wayne and Mark Alyn life stories sometime soon, right?
I'll just send her this interview when we're done. And
okay. Yes, that's true.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much. What are some of your favorite stories in the book?
Gosh, there's so many. One of my favorite stories is the one, I don't know if you remember it, but it's the one about a guy named 8, as in the number 8, who ended up walking across the country with his dog. Can I share a little bit about that story?
Yeah, please.
Sure. So 8 was married, happily married, and unfortunately his wife did come down with cancer, and one day he heard the dog barking. His dog's name was Poppy, just barking really loud, and he ran up the stairs, and he was laying with his wife, and his wife had passed away. And he was so distraught. It was so distraught that this had happened that he contemplated maybe he would kill himself because there was just nothing left to live for. And then that night, he had this dream, and he dreamed about Poppy, and she was just sitting outside the front door, but she wouldn't come in. And he realized if he did this to himself, he would let Poppy down. Poppy was his best friend, and he couldn't just abandon her in that way. So he woke up, and he said, I traded in my tombstone for a walk across the country, which is always what his wife always wanted to go to California. So he and his dog, he had spent all his money on her medical care. So he and Poppy walked across the country, and that was how he came to heal. All of the stories they had, all the different jobs they had, all the different, he'd carry her across the snow through Colorado. He'd, carry all this water and food for her on their back. And, by the time he got here, he now lives in the Bay Area, and he a lot had changed and a lot has shifted. And, he owes his life to Poppy.
And at the same time, there are other stories about people who have disease states that feel better when they're with an animal. Sure.
There's a story of a woman whose husband has Parkinson's disease. Now, she and her husband actually were in Carpinteria originally, Carpinteria, California.
That's not very far from where Daryl and I are right now, maybe 15, 20 miles.
That's right. And so they used to walk together, and when he came down with Parkinson's, they were no longer able to walk together, and that was something she missed so much. And she also missed just, connecting with him in this way. And she would go out on her walks, but she would feel really lonely. And one day she was out on her walk, and she heard this chirping sound, and she turned around, and it was her cat, Abby. And she thought, oh, my gosh, I don't want her to get hit by a car. I don't want her to chase a bird. But Abby just stayed right by her side. And she thought, well, okay. The next day she went out on a walk, and again, the cat kept following her. Well, the cat has walked with her for the last 2 years. She's been her partner walking. And she says, there are days I don't want to get up. I am depressed, I'm sad, but my cat makes me. And if I am not up, she starts hitting me. When 10 a.m. hits, she starts swatting me, like, let's get outside. And she said the other day, I did not want to go for a walk. I just felt so sad. And Abby jumped on the counter, stole my necklace that was sitting there, and then raced off until I caught her. So I had to actually take her for a walk. But she said, not only does Abby help me just get through this, I'd be on Prozac if it wasn't for her, but she helps my husband who has Parkinson's and sometimes needs their comfort, their actual physical comfort to feel better. And sometimes he just needs to laugh, and they are always doing these little, cat antics, jumping around and doing things that make him laugh. So we see how these cats have benefited in a very healthy way, both people who are involved with this Parkinson's disease.
Very quickly, when somebody has an animal that needs medical attention, that has a $4,000 price tag on it, do we treat that animal as part of the family and do whatever we can to save their lives?
Absolutely. I think that we should always consider an animal, when we get them, consider they are part of your family, and consider that before you bring them into your life. But there are many ways also that you can, share an animal. Perhaps you can share it with, a friend, another family member, so you all accept responsibility. But yes, always consider that they are a member of your family. They will do anything for you, and hopefully we will do everything we can for them.
Unconditional love. Listen, we enjoyed this. Thank you very much. Carlene Montes, the author of Dog as My Doctor, Cat as My Nurse. Thank you for joining us here on Late Night Health. Okay, coming up next, Dr. Christine Horner will be back. This is Late Night Health.